name is Valentine Kisiangani, and today I'm going to be naming the skeletal bones. First, I'll begin with the cranial and the facial bones. Over here, the yellow shaded part, we have the frontal bone. The blue shaded part is the parietal bone. The green shaded part is the occipital bone. The orange shaded part is the temporal bone. The eye sockets, also known as the otic, is where we find the sphenoid bone. Right beneath it, we find the lacrimal bone. Towards the side of the nose, to the tip of the eye, we have the ethmoid bone. The nose itself has a nasal bone. The tip of the nose is the vomer. Right next to the nose, we have the cheek, where we find the zygomatic bone. Okay, right below the vomer, we have the maxilla. And inside the nose, over here, we have the inferior nasal conchae. Inside the mouth, at the top, behind the maxilla, we find the palatine bone, which is found between the maxilla and the sphenoidal bone. Around the chin area, we find the mandible, which is labeled as purple. Now, moving on to the throat bone, we find the hyoid bone. The shoulders, we find the scapula, the back. The collarbone, this is the clavicle. The middle of the ribs is the sternum. Then we have the ribs, which are joined to the sternum by the costal cartilage. The tip at the bottom of the sternum is referred to as the xiphoid process. Now we're going to move to the vertebrae bones. We're going to start by the red shaded area, which is the cervical vertebrae, which consists of bones C1 to C7, C1 being the atlas, C2 being the axis. The blue shaded part is known as the thoracic cavity, which consists of bones T1 to T12. The yellow shaded part consists of the lumbar vertebrae, which consists of bones L1 to L5. Right beneath it, the green shaded part is the sacral, and right beneath it we have the pink shaded part, which is the coccygeal vertebrae, also known as the coccyx. Now we are moving forward to the arms and the forearm bones. This bone over here, which is from the biceps, is referred to as the humerus bone. Then we have the radius over here towards your thumb, and then we have the ulna, which is associated with towards your pinky, right beneath your pinky finger. Moving on to the hand bones. At the tip of the finger, we have the distal phalanges, followed by the middle phalanges, followed by the proximal phalanges. Beneath it, we have the metacarpals. On the thumb, between the proximal phalange and the metacarpal, we have the tiny bone over here, referred to as the sesamoid bone. Right beneath it, we have the trapezium. Next to it, we have the trapezoid. Next to it, we have the capitate. Next to it, we have the hamate. Next to it, we have the triquetrum. Next to it, we have the pisiform. Right beneath it, we have the lunate. Next to it, we have the scaphoid bone. Now moving on to the pelvic bones, which consist of the hip bone, also known as the coxal bone, which is located right here. This part in the middle of the outer part is called the ilium crest. Now moving on to the pelvic bones, which consist of the hip bone, also known as the coxal bone, which is right here and has three parts. The middle part over here is referred to as the ilium. Then the bottom part here is the ischium, and the middle section is the pubis. Now we're going to move on to the leg bones. We have the thigh bone, also known as the femur. We have the patella. We have the fibula, the smaller bone. Next to it, we have the tibia. Lastly, I'm going to be naming the bones of the foot. I'm going to start with the tip, which is the distal phalanges, followed by the intermediate phalanges, followed by the proximal phalanges. Next, we have the metatarsal. Right here, the thumb, we have the medial cuneiform bone. Next to it, we have the intermediate cuneiform bone. Next to it, to the right, we have the lateral cuneiform bone. Next to it, to the right, we have the cuboid. Behind all of those, we have the navicular bone. Behind the navicular bone, we have the talus, also known as the ankle bone. And to the right, we have the heel, or behind it, we have the heel, which is right here, known as the calcaneus.